Greetings, gamers! Welcome to part number 72 of my Let's Play Fire Emblem 4 Genealogy of the Holy War, and in today's episode, I am most likely finishing the entirety of the game, at least the combat of the game. Of course, there is an epilogue, and of course, it's quite lengthy in this game, so who knows how long that's going to take. But it is now Valhalla's phase, and the fight to end the Holy War shall begin. Oh, those three are just deciding not to fight? So Julius, if he were to accost there and actually hit both times, he could do pretty significant and sizable damage, but I just don't... It's not happening, right? It's just not happening. He doesn't want to fight, and I can see why. I think... Yeah, so if I go right here, I should be able to fight and defeat him with my units. What I'm going to do, though, is... Okay, you have the Fortify, the Miracle Sword, I actually think using Seliph would probably be a good idea here, because the thing is that I don't want this unit to proc Miracle on somebody else and stay alive and be able to heal up somebody like good old... Alright, right here should be fine. Good old Julius. Brave Sword. Very nice. Very nice. And just one left. Equus, the Bolganone, met his match today against Arthur. And the Nagatome.
Julia? Why? What are you? Manfroy, you've made a grave mistake.
.99 hit. This is much better than the 59 she had before all of the support, as well as Seliph's leadership. I think she just wins here. As long as she procs Adept enough, let alone the fact that I am also going to use Lean to dance for her. Julius is one of... So Naga is actually the reason why I personally think that Julius is a weaker boss than Arvis, because if you take away the Nagatome, I really think that Julius would be harder than Arvis, because his cutting attack ability means that most of your units can't actually do much damage to him, like between 5 and 10, even with holy weapons, and you can't crit him. Actually, no, you can crit him. You can.
Naga, yet again you have brought ruin to me.
And the Dragon of Laughter It is such a shame that the Dragon of Lopter isn't like the true boss. But that's just not how it happens. And I can't really dance, so it doesn't matter. And Seliph can just complete the chapter. Congratulations, Seliph. You've endured so much, so well, to make it this far. Thank you, Lewin, but our victory means precious little while our world still lies in ruins. Where do we begin from here? There's only one way to rebuild all the scarred lands. Everyone needs to come together and share the work among you. And for that, you'll need a good leader. The Crusaders' heirs will be returning home to assume their rightful thrones. And with the proper leadership, they can pool their strengths again to build a new world, one where all can live in happiness. A new world, you say? Yeah, Seliph, a new world, and your role is the most crucial of all. You'll remain here in Valhalla, and you'll guide the rise of this new world as the King of Granvale. Amen. Hold on, I'm to be the king? Mm-hmm. After all that's happened, you and Julia are the last living heirs of the blood of Granvale's kings. The two of you have inherited the last will of all who lost their lives on this path. These souls watch over you, even now. You mustn't forget the light for which they strove. I understand, Lewin. So long as I have the power, I will do all I can. Now, Julia. What do you say?
I agree, of course. I wish to aid Lord Seliph. No, my lord brother, every step of the way. I know this path will be a grueling one, but that's all the more reason to give it my all.
Well then, looks like everyone's making their way here, from the front lines. Seliph, this'll be your first task as king. I'm sure they'd all love some words of thanks. Well, that's it. I'm going home, Seliph. I've left the Isaacian people to wait long enough. I doubt I could ever thank you enough for all you've done for me, Shannon. All my life, you've been here to protect me. At every turn, I owe you so dearly. Your father, Lord Sigurd, was always there for me as well when I was a child, as was that Lady Deidre. But when we lost Lady Deidre, I couldn't do a thing to stop it. I failed Lord Sigurd. Even now, I'll never forget that day. You don't owe me a thing, Seliph. Not when I've caused you so much pain. No, Shannon. If it weren't for you and the people of Isaac, I wouldn't be here today. To me, Isaac will always be home. Nothing will ever change that. I'm sure everyone back in Isaac would be heartened to hear such kind words.
Come on, Shannon, this is Granvale's new king you're talking to here. I'm not sure you should be this brotherly to him.
Patty, yeah, I suppose you're right. I ought to put on a proper airs. King Seliph. No, that's not quite right. Perhaps Your Imperial Majesty, the King, then.
Oh, I didn't mean to anger you, Shannon. You're right. Parting ways like this has to be so painful for you already. I'm really sorry. That was just horrid of me.
It's fine. You did speak honestly, after all.
Shannon?
I've always thought of you as a brother, Shannon. I pray we never forget that bond. My blade will always be yours, King Seliph. I'll never forget that so long as I live. Well, it's time to say goodbye. Best of luck, heroes of Isaac. Goodbye, you two. I couldn't possibly thank you enough for everything, Lord Seliph. I'll be departing for Leonster shortly. The Thracian Peninsula has suffered from war long enough, and it's high time we rebuilt. I know my sister Altena wishes dearly for a restored Thracia as well. Indeed. This war has lain waste to Thracia, and I can only imagine the burden laid upon you, the king-to-be of a united peninsula. I pray you give it your best, no matter what happens. I will. You take care as well, Lord Seliph. Long ago, our fathers, Sigurd and Quan, were bound by the closest of friendships, sharing their deaths as they did their lives. Prince Leif, I'd love nothing more than for us to follow their example and remain lifelong friends. As do I, Lord Seliph.
You're about to leave, aren't you, Leif?
Do you wish to accompany me, Nana?
Huh? Would that really be all right with you?
But of course, all I want is to have you and your might by my side.
Thank you.
So you're destined for Thracia as well, Princess Altena.
I am, sir. I've got to help the new king in his quest to give rise to a united Thracia. At the very least, I ought to be to atone for the legacy of my adoptive family, Trevant and Arion.
How wonderful it would be if Arion were to work together with you.
I don't believe that could happen for the time being, sir. But perhaps someday he'll feel the time is right.
I shall be bound for home as well, my lord. I wish you the best of health. Sir Finn, you've come to my family's aid time and again, and for 20 years played a crucial part in both my cause and father's. I couldn't possibly thank you enough. No, I am a servant of House Leonster. As a knight, I have but followed where my liege has led me. No more, no less. Thracia is in your hands, Sir Finn. I hope you'll assist Prince Leif in granting Thracia its hard-won peace. Yes, sir, a peaceful Thracia was my Lord Quan's lifelong dream as well, and I'll do all I can to bring that dream to life.
Many thanks, King Seliph. I shall excuse myself now.
Are you headed for Thracia as well, General Hannibal?
Indeed, Thracia yet hangs in the balance, and the people await my return.
Who better to lead the reconstruction of Thracia than a mighty war hero? Do your best for the youths of Thracia. The job awaiting you, the heroes of Thracia, certainly won't be easy. It's up to you to unite two peoples long divided by bitter hatred and build for all of them a new, peaceful land. Yeah, so these epilogues actually change depending on pairings, by the way. Who is what and where is going who, and so on and so forth. Seliph, I dearly owe you for all you have done to assist me. I'll never forget you, so long as I live. Oh no, Prince Ares. The joy chancing upon you is thanks enough. It was such an honor to meet the son of my father's dearest friend. As tragic as their lives were, their faith in each other was unshakable to the very end. Our fathers, Prince Ares, were united by a singular dream that their deaths left unfulfilled. Let us fulfill their dream where they cannot. Let the two of us, hand in hand, guide all Jugdral toward bringing that dream to life. Well spoken, King Seliph. My father so dearly wished to see his beloved Augustria united in a lasting peace. In the name of his dying wish, I'll carve for Augustria a new, prosperous future. But my might alone shall not suffice. To this end, my dearest Lean, I pray I'll have your strength ever by my side.
Yep, of course. I'm not going to do everything. I'm going to do everything I can help to rebuild Augustria as well. Let's all work together to build an Augustria where anyone can live happily.
Indeed. So long as you remain, I know I'll never give up. Even as we speak, Augustria is still embroiled in a civil war. A grueling task awaits you all, but I know you can handle it, if you give it your best together. Augustria's fate now lies squarely in all of your hands. It would have been really cool to see, like, an Augustria game in the Jugdral series. Well, Lord Seliph, I'm off to Ljungby. Knowing Ljungby is in your most capable hands will put my mind at ease. I admit, sir, I couldn't have seen all this coming in 1,000 years. But finding out that my mom was Jungbee's Lady Bridget helped me find myself a proper purpose in life, and I know what it needs to be done. On this blessed bow of mine, Lord Seliph, I swear I'll be with you every step of the way. I'm going back to Jungbee as well, sir. I know Jungbee will need your might in the years to come, as will I. Yes, sir. I want to help my cousin, just as my mother once helped my aunt, and I hope I can for the rest of my life. And you as well. Sigurd, you're as close to him as they come, aren't you?
Yep. I guess this means we'll be around to visit you quite a bit.
What was that about? I seriously don't remember that. He's not leaving the castle. What was that about? You're Friege's heir, are you not, Tinny? I'm so sorry. I know returning to Friege couldn't possibly be easy for you.
No, it won't. But for my mother's sake, I mustn't run away. I hope I'll have your help in this as well, Lord Seliph.
But of course, we'll be with you every step of the way. Goodbye, Tinny. I'm going to Duzzle, Lord Seliph. Your father was Lord Lax, correct? I'm sure the people of Dozel eagerly await your return, Ulster. The likes of Langbolt and Dannon have tormented the people and stained House Dozel's good name for far too long. Now that my father is gone, it falls to me to heal the state's wounds. I entrust Dozel's welfare to you. I pray you'll be able to lend me your might in the years to come.
Yes, Lord Seliph.
My liege, I owe you a debt among debts. I leave Dozel's care to you, Lord Johann. Home shall hold only pain for me, yet return I must if I am to absolve my kin's sins. I know yet not if my people could forgive me. This war could never have been won if not for your strength, Johann. Your legacy is one of kindness. People everywhere know this as well. Your words honor me, my liege. I can only pray you shall someday forgive House Dozel. But of course, Johann, I hope both Granvale and the world will greatly prosper from your might. You shall always have my axe, my liege. I swear to you, the Granvale throne shall have the undying loyalty of House Dozel.
I hate to admit it, Johann, but that was actually quite the stirring speech. I guess that's what you've always been good at.
Larse,
I know. I mean, I do love you too, Johann.
I've never known such joy, Larse.
And those wonderful fools heading on to Dozel. I take it you're headed for Edda, Carebrae?
I am, sir. In the name of my father Claude, I'll breathe new life back into Edda.
Saint Bragi's faith is strong indeed. I know your exalted prayers will bring peace to Granvale and the world.
Yes, sir.
Goodbye, Carebrae. See you in Thracia, though that game is before this point. Lord Seliph, I beg your forgiveness, Lord Dermot. The task which now lies before you is the most painful of all. No, sir, I'm all that's left of House Veltomer, and it's my duty alone to atone for the many crimes of my kin. I know that's what my father, Lord Azel, would want as well. Dermot, I can't bring myself to hate Lord Arvis any longer. Knowing now he was but a sad victim of fate, I can only offer you my condolences. Thank you so much, Lord Seliph. The fire emblem, House Veltomer's royal crest, was once revered by people the world over as a symbol of justice. I'll work tirelessly until the emblem's honor and good name are restored.
I'll go to Veltomer as well, Dermot.
You will, Lana?
I won't let you face this alone. So long as we're together, I know we can survive any hardship.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. Arvis is not a victim of fate, unfortunately. Well, sire, I'm leaving for Chalfie now. What? Why, Oifi, why? I thought you would never leave my side. I still need you. No, sire. You will do a magnificent job ruling on your own, I know it. And whilst you do it, it'll be my duty to protect House Chalfie in your stead. Chalfie. I understand, Oifi. You are right, of course. I won't be able to inherit its throne, which leaves you as the last bearer of the blood of Balder. Who can claim it? I suppose there isn't much choice. Everything will be all right, sire. I'll always be watching over you, even from Chalfie. Oifi, to me, you've always been like the father I never had. You taught me all I know, how to strategize, how to live as a knight does, and how to be kind. You've done so much, and I could never thank you even nearly enough. Sire, I too owe your father dearly for all he once did for me. When my parents died, Lord Seliph took me into his home, and he loved me just as if I were his own brother. And yet, I couldn't even be by his side in his final moments. I was such a coward. Oifi, please don't cry. This is my fault, not yours. My apologies, sire. You shouldn't have seen that. Now then, please, sire. I know, Oifi. I know. You take care as well. And just one more group to speak to. The group of Celeste. This is it, sire. I'll be making my leave now. Destined for Celeste, then, said. I am. I've left the Celestian people waiting for long enough. I'll be joining them in the effort to restore Celeste once I get home. I'll give it nothing less than all I have. I see. Well, if you're lending your power to the cause, then I know Celeste is in the most capable of hands. Take care, said the brave. You too, sire. Well, Lord Seliph, thanks for everything. I'll be going back to Celeste with Father now. I must admit, Arthur, I'm almost envious you have a father like Lewin by your side. How nice that must be. It is. I'm so proud to be his son, sir, and someday, hopefully, I'll be every bit the great man he is now.
Lord Seliph, I'll be going to Celeste with Arthur.
You will as well, Fee? That's very reassuring. I pray you and Arthur will pool your might to aid Celeste's people.
Got it. I'll do my best.
Look after Arthur, okay, Fee? Celeste is both of yours to rule now. I'm not going back. Huh? What are you talking about, Father? The war is over. Please, you've got to come home. No. My work there is done. I don't belong on the throne. Celeste needs a fresh start with its leadership, just like everywhere else. What Celeste needs is you. It needs to be guided by your youthful hand. I don't understand. Celeste needs you too, and I need you. Please, Father, please, come home with me. Settle down, Arthur. You're embarrassing me here. You already know exactly why I'm doing this, don't you, Arthur? Father. That's enough. There's nothing left to say. Go. I leave Celeste's fate to you. And they just disappear. Well, Seliph, I guess this is farewell for me as well. I've got a journey of my own to begin. Thank you, Lewin. Thank you so much. You've done so much for us. The young generation, you've always guided us. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. I did only my duty, Seliph. I am the wind, a wind fated to guide the beating light of life. And this very light shines on within the hearts of every last one of you. I understand now. All my life I've heard tales of how the dragonkin feared becoming entangled in the sorry affairs of mankind. But you were different. You guided us where your kin never would. So long as our world lives on, mankind will never forget your kindness. Lewin, no. A hero of a distant land, Forseti of the Wind. Yes, that is right. Lewin is not really Lewin. He is Forseti in the guise of Lewin. At long last, Thracia has been unified, a region once swamped with countless small nations, constantly warring amongst themselves. With the restoration of House Leonster and with the downfall of the Thracian kingdom, the Thracian peninsula finally knows peace. And as the first ruler of this new Thracia, the people ardently desired for the throne to be taken by Leif. And so, Leif worked together with Nanna, Leif's wife, Finn, the Lance Knight, the great General Hannibal, to build a new nation for Thracia's people. At Leif's behest, the old Thracia's former lands were entrusted to his sister Altenna. Legends tell of Altenna's love for and dedication to the very soil that raised her, and this love never died so long as she lived. The Thracian peninsula thus gave rise to a new realm, the Kingdom of New Thracia. I wish this text went by a little bit slower. The kingdom of Isaac may have found its freedom from imperial abuse the quickest, yet its people could not rest easy while its heir was absent fighting in the war. This changed with the final victory of the Liberation Army. And when Shannon returned from battle, the people greeted their liege with raucous cheers. And so, with Shannon assuming the crown, Patty, Shannon's wife, and others by his side to restore the land, they also strove for a new age of diplomacy and trade, seeking to build a wealthy nation. Isaac was once reviled by others as little more than a barbarous eastern land, but under the reign of Shannon, Isaac will grow like never before, and shall one day be reborn as a mighty nation, every bit the equal of other realms. The aftermath of Augustria's civil war left it to be annexed by Granville, and so the land fell to harsh tyranny. After years of abuse, its people dearly wished for the rise of a unified nation, one led by House Nordion, heirs of the legendary hero Eldigan, and so the people eagerly welcomed the homecoming of Ares. In Ares, the people saw the very same aura Eldigan himself had borne in his youth. Ares was accompanied home by Lene, his wife, and worked with her to unite Augustria. Under the reign of Ares, Augustria will soon become Granville's most crucial partner, and will grow to be greater than ever before. Even at its peak, the Empire had shunned and ignored Verdane. Uninterested in seizing the reason within its iron fist, it completely abandoned the Old Kingdom. Instead, Verdane was left to the mercy of constantly warring clans, and brigands ran rampant. Nobody had any hope of peace. With the Holy War's end, Seliph led an expedition to restore peace to Verdane. The people were overjoyed to, at last be saved by Seliph, the son of Deidre. Deidre had long since passed into the legends and folklore of Verdane, now revered there as a saint. And now Verdane's people clamor to come under the rule of Deidre's son, Seliph, too, held a deep love for the land of his mother's youth, and so Verdane joined Granville's lands, becoming the royal province of Verdane. Verdane is a land of natural beauty. Its verdant forest are Sigurd's prayers, its sparkling crystal clear water is Deidre's tears, and these are its people's emblems of hope and faith. Not anything happens in Verdane in all of the second generation, which I find interesting. Celeste had long dwelt under the Empire's cruel hand, and so Arthur devoted his life to rebuilding the ruined land. Assisting him was Fee, his wife. Said the heroic wind mage, all bearing hope-filled smiles, a breathtaking land, a peaceful people. Lewin had devoted his life to protecting the kingdom of Celeste, and at long last, his decades of work came to fruition. And in Granville itself, Veltomer's new Lord Dermot and his wife Lana, Frigga's new Lord Tinny, that would be Lady Tinny, Edda's new Lord Cairbre, Dolzel's new Lord Ulster, and Johann, and his wife Larse, Ljungby's new Lord Faval, and Lester, his cousin, in fact, Jalfi's new Lord Oifi. and others all returned to their lands. In the royal capital Valhalla itself, with overwhelming support from the public, Seliph was officially hailed as their king. The newly anointed King Seliph devoted himself to rebuilding his land and bringing peace to all, his goal nothing short of a prosperous world free of oppression and bigotry. And by his side one would always find his sister, Princess Julia, regarding his toil with the warmest of eyes. In ages to come, the people of Jugdral tell legends of a divine king of ages past. None shall ever forget his name, Seliph. I hate to be super nitpicky here, but some of the story in this epilogue saying them and their instead of he or she riles me to an extreme, to an absolute abysmal extreme. Ah, Finn has joined us for the very final time. Prologue, Birth of a Crusader, 18 turns. Chapter 1, 45 turns. Chapter 2, 47 turns. Chapter 3, 36 turns. Chapter 4, 33 turns. Chapter 5, 44 turns. Chapter 6, 34 turns. Chapter 7, 48 turns. Chapter 8, 25 turns. Chapter 9, 21 turns. Chapter 10, 29 turns. And Endgame, 24 turns. Total, 404 turns. Sigurd had 92 wins. Noish had 7 wins. Alec had 21 wins. Arden, 6 wins. I'm surprised he had that many. Finn, 52. Quan, 28 wins. Madir, 65 wins. Lewin, 32 wins. Holen, 0. Azel, 70. Jamka, 8 wins. Claude, 0. Beowulf, 4. I'm surprised he had any at all. Lex, 49. Do, 2 wins. Impressive. Deidre, 4 wins. Ethlyn, 8 wins. Rakesis, 5 wins. Ira, 8 wins. Aaron, 21 victories. Teal2, 8 victories. Sylvia, 0. Ideen had exactly 2. Bridget, 16 wins. Most of those were begotten on her on her starting chapter. Seliph, 57 wins. Not quite his father. Shannon, 14 wins. Leaf, 38 wins. Johan, 34 victories. Getting close there. Finn, 14 victories in the second generation. Hannibal, 1 win. Ares, 22 victories. Oifi, 26 slain enemies. Julia, 46 slain. Altena, 10 wins. Ulster, 9 wins. Faval, 1 victory. Careprey, 0. Said, 4. Dermot, 70. Not surprised by that at all. Lester, 50. Arthur, 131 victories. Patty, 0. Larse, 4. Lana, 1. Fee, 30. Tinny, 0 victories. Lean, 0 wins. Nana, 3 wins. And my total player rank is B rank. Man. So had I gotten just a little bit more on the experience realms here, I would have gotten an A overall rank I don't remember if this game has any higher than A rank. I think A rank is the highest. So I think I did pretty well. Time total was 68 hours and 26 minutes. One clear. This is my first clear on this particular save file. Which now means that I can go ahead and obtain clever mode. Not really that big of a deal. It's in fact not something I'm at all considering worrying about whatsoever. Alright, so gamers, it is that time. I am ending a series. Genealogy is through. 72 episodes. This episode is going to be quite a bit longer than normal just because I want to go through some of my thoughts and ideas concerning the whole of this game and my playthrough. So, I am a big fan of Genealogy. I actually really love Genealogy. It's not my favorite in the franchise. It is second favorite for a reason. It has some problems, and some of those problems are more or less due to Project Naga's translation. The moment that a perfect, seamless, and I want to say non-ridiculous translation comes out in which actually localizes, but with the romanticized medieval flair that I'm looking for in this game, because that's literally what Fire Emblem is, right? I would be very settled into that. I would be very pleased. I can't even say that Project Munster is better, like a whole. Well, it is better, right? Project Munster is better in the sense that it doesn't do as many egregious things or take as many egregious steps. I don't care what the Japanese said. I don't care what the original language was or what it stated. For instance, saying them or they to refer to a single individual is not biblically correct. It's not correct in the English language. It's just not. And the reason why it is not is because in all instances, you refer to a man as his correct and direct pronoun. And the unknown, so if you're talking about like somebody you don't know, off in the distance, you don't know his name or anything of the sort, or who he is at all, you would always just refer and assume the masculine, because that's how this language works. It's how Spanish works, it's how French works, it's how pretty much every language on Earth works that deals with masculine and feminine within the language. And with that in mind, I find some of this stuff to be a little bit heinous. That's more like you can tell that this was made by people within the past like 10, 15 years, and it wasn't made by people that was like 10 or 15 years before then. Because this whole idea of referring to a single individual as multiple individuals didn't become a thing until about 5, 10 years ago. Which is unfortunate, disgusting, and debaucherous and abominable, but I'm going to move on from that because I don't think that that's the point that I should be dwelling on completely. When it comes to Genealogy, however, Genealogy is a wonderful, fantastic game. It is amazing, incredible. I highly recommend playing it, and I highly recommend that you stop listening to people saying that this game is too long or too ridiculously, padded, or the maps are too big or too gaudy or this, that, or the other, blah, blah, blah. Look, this game is giant, massive warfare on a ridiculous scale where you are fighting massive armies, where everybody is fighting on these huge battlefields outside. We're not inside in castles. So there is a lack of terrain. There is a lack of intrigue concerning map design because they can't do things like what Thracia did or Path of Radiance or so on and so forth concerning like indoor maps, because that's just not a thing in this game. But there is also the fact that some people will say that each chapter is too long-winded, not realizing that there is an auto-save function at the start of every one of your turns. Goodness gracious, save states in this game before they were ever really a thing. Emulators didn't really become a thing until around the time of the early 2000s. So the issue is, and even when there were emulators in the 90s, you weren't emulating SNES, okay? You just weren't. Or Super Famicom for that matter. So the issue is that each and every individual castle is a chapter. It is a chapter. People don't understand this, and I really wish that I could just help dispel that stupidity. That this game is not really just blisteringly long. There's really only 12 chapters. There's the prologue, there's the 10 regular chapters, and then there's the end game. That's it. There's 12 chapters. But if you look at it, each chapter is divided up into between like 3 and 5 different castles. So you take those 12 chapters and you multiply them by maybe about 3. I would say roughly this game has about 40 chapters, which is long. That's longer than most games in this franchise. But I will grant you, the issue is that some of those, and I will grant you that's long, but some of those castles don't actually take that long to deal with. Like, for instance, Genoa is a perfect example. That was done in moments, mere moments. The very first castle you see is on the very first chapter, prologue, Birth of a Holy, or is it Birth of a Holy Knight? Yes. That castle takes no time at all. There's plenty of castles that are just like that, in fact. So I don't even think that every individual castle sees that is a chapter is very long at all. Some will say that the holy weapons are way overtuned. Holy weapon wielders, the holy blood users, these characters are just busted beyond belief. I threw that out the window with my playthrough. If you're playing with brave weapons, the holy weapons are pretty much non-existent and don't really matter. And there are certain instances where you're not ever going to have to worry about it. Even if you do like a substitute run, you're always going to have Ares. You're always going to get like Julia. So she's always going to be able to use the Naga Tome to defeat the Dead Lords and Julius. You're always going to get Leaf, as good as Leaf is, and that man is insane. You're always going to have good units. You're always going to have Seliph. So the fact of the matter is even in a substitute run, I kind of feel like this game wouldn't be that much more difficult, if I'm being honest. It probably would be more difficult, but if you're just using the Holy Blood users or like brave weapons that you used in the first generation, you're not really going to be at a disadvantage. Look at Johann. Johann was an exceptionally good unit because he had a brave axe with crit and was just one-shotting everything, because the amount of attack damage that man did, let alone the fact that he always doubled because he had a brave axe, was just kind of absurd. Is he going to take on Ishtar? Absolutely not, but you have other units that can easily do that. Even if you don't have Arthur, whom I used to basically blow through most of the second generation because he had Forseti and ended up getting the Thief Band and basically could use it with impunity. Even if you don't have Arthur, you have Seliph. Seliph with the Tyrfing he's not threatened at all by somebody like Ishtar. So the issue is that you have the tools, you have the options, you have the way to deal with pretty much everything you want to be dealt with in this game. And I love that. I just love the way that Genealogy runs. I love how replayable it is. I love how many different options you have. I love the fact that there's basically an infinite number of combinations with pairings, inheritance, and so on and so forth with most of your characters. Now, frankly, I love the second generation, especially the start of it, because your characters are so weak, but they snowball so quick, and then you fight such strong and capable enemies that are basically on the levels of your units, but not quite. They're like a step below, a very small step, but they're a step below. Whereas in Gen 1, you're playing with a bunch of pre-promotes, basically, and they have very poor growths. They don't really go anywhere, but they're still pretty decent because the enemies that you fight aren't that strong. There are so many cool designs about this game that I think a lot of people just need to look into and see and say, you know what, Genealogy is worth it. Even if Project Naga isn't perfect, it's still worth playing. Little Manster is not perfect, and it's still worth playing Thracia. The Jugdral games are incredible. I would love to see non-bastardized remakes of these games. And I've even thought of exactly how it would happen. A Jugdral chronology, where you have both games in one single, game itself. Now, you basically pick to play either one. You can't play like a combination of the two. I don't want them mixed together. I would just like both of them to be in the same cartridge. And the reason why I would like this is because, very simply put, as I've said before, I think that if they remake the Jug Droll games, either one, I think it's going to kill the series. Just like how Shadow Dragon almost killed the series. And I especially think if they keep it as original as possible and as faithful as I want it to be, it's going to kill the series. Shadow Dragon was pretty much faithful to a fault. The only thing it wasn't really faithful about was the guidance, which were totally pointless, and the reclassing. But otherwise, it was pretty faithful. And a lot of people didn't like that because the story wasn't really all there, supports weren't all there, blah blah blah. And I really hope that these games, I hope in spite of the potential death of Fire Emblem as a series, I hope in spite of that if these games are remade, that they are remade as faithfully as possible with no blemishes or bastardizations, no pandering to political agendas or disgusting, abominable groups, leftist ideals, godless ways, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, with the way Fire Emblem's been going since New Mystery, I really doubt this. But luckily, regardless of this, these games are going to be immortalized forever. In the fact that you can play them. Even if you don't have the old hardware, you can play them. Emulation will always be there, and though I would rather just have the old hardware myself, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really care about that, and I don't think anybody else should care about that. Emulation is just the way to go, especially when games like this game is almost 30 years old. Almost 30 years old, and it has never even had a hint from Intelligent Systems or Nintendo that it's going to be remade or localized or whatever. And with that thought behind it, if it never does, how are you going to play it otherwise? How would you play it? I mean, I guess you could get the original hardware. Are you going to learn Japanese just so you can play a game? I think that's a little bit too much dedication to put towards a video game, if I'm being honest. I think at that point you're verging on psychotic. But moving on from that factor, I think this game is very fantastic. Now, there's a lot of things I want to do concerning the future of my channel, and one of those wonderful things is moving on to a very interesting Let's Play. I kind of want to do Fire Emblem Echoes next. I'm going to have to see how I can record it and how I can deal with that. It might be that I'm not capable of recording it or not capable of playing it, and if that's the case, unfortunately, it will just never be something that I play on my channel. But I'm going to attempt it. And I think that's going to be the next Let's Play. There's going to be plenty of other things I'm going to be doing otherwise, though. I've already decided that I want to get back into streaming. I want to get back into making some very interesting videos. I already have some very interesting videos on the way, and going to be posted relatively soon, if not already, including tier lists. Stuff that I have wanted to do for a long time, but just never got around to it because I was too busy being enthralled in other video games. Now, when it comes to other series, I do plan on taking on other series and other games like Pokemon or any other interest, going back to Super Ghouls and Ghosts, revisiting that, maybe doing like in-depth, detailed understandings of that game, other games of past, present, and future. So please do stick around, and I do thank you for any and all of the patronage that I have received throughout this series. There are many different ways that you can watch my content. You do not have to just stick around in YouTube. I wouldn't, if it wasn't for the fact that most of the things that I like watching aren't elsewhere. But I am also on Player and BitShoot. And with that, I've actually seen quite a bit of success on both of those sites. In fact, way more than I've seen on YouTube, which is kind of telling. YouTube is a site, really, that you're only going to get big if what you're doing is something that YouTube likes or can monetize. And if they can't really monetize you, they're not going to allow you to get big. I've been on this site for much less time or much longer time than some humongous channels have been. And I've been playing relatively niche games, of course, but some of them aren't niche. Like, for instance, Smash and Pokemon. Those are not niche games. Fire Emblem might be niche, but it still has well over 1 million in sales per entry in the past, like, 10 years. So, it's very telling that YouTube wants to stifle people, because in other sites where I have much less content up, I have more viewership. It's very interesting. I do want to thank you yet again for your joining me. And if you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe, depending on the platform of choice that you have partaken. Do leave a comment down below. Tell me exactly how you think this franchise and this series has gone, and what you think of a potential remake, and how my gameplay was, and if what you have done differently with your own genealogy characters from Generation 1 to Generation 2. What are your favorite games in the series, and what are your thoughts basically on the franchise comparatively between FE11 and before, and FE12 and after? With all that being said, I want to bid you all a farewell, as I also would like to wish you all a great and glorious day gaming.